What up, it's your boy Pat, aka That Varsity Geek, and I'm here today with another video for you guys. Now today we're going to be talking about a little something nerdy, a little something geeky, a little something that I think that needs a little bit more respect in the anime game, Code Geass. Now I think that Code Geass is a top tier anime. It doesn't get talked about with all the other big boys, but I think it's one of the best out there, and I'm going to explain to you why. So, let's get into it. First, I'm going to be talking about the plot. Code Geass ran from 2006 to 2008, and so it's probably going to have some similar themes and aspects that you would expect from those kind of anime in that time, but its plot's really unique, it's really good. Code Geass takes place in an alternate timeline, where there are three main superpowers vying for control of the world. There's the Holy Empire of Britannia, there's the Chinese Federation, and there's the European Union. The story really takes place after the Holy Empire of Britannia takes over Japan and turns them into a colony, which they call Area 11, pretty much stripping the Japanese people of all of their rights, all of their opinions, and making them a Britannian colony, and pretty much taking away their unique Japanese-ness. And the way that they did that was using their newly developed nightmare frames, which are mobile suits that they use for warfare in this anime. And it was cutting edge technology at the time, so they were able to really take over Japan pretty easily. Now the show really focuses on a student at Ashford Academy named Lelouch Lamperouge. Later on in the show, you'll find out that his name is actually Lelouch v Britannia, and Lamperouge is just an alias that him and his sister Nunnally go by. And later you find out the reason for that alias is because he and his sister are actually part of the Britannian royal family, and they get sent to Japan for other reasons that we'll discuss later. But Lelouch and Nunnally's mother was murdered right in front of them, and Lelouch after that always harbored a grudge against his father. He didn't think that his father was really trying to figure out who murdered his mother, and he believes his father, Charles v Britannia, played a part in the murder of his mother. And so he's never gotten along with his father since that. Because of the trauma from that murder, Nunnally lost her sight and she lost the ability to walk, so now she's handicapped, and Lelouch is really taking care of her on his own. Now the two siblings are sent to Japan kind of as political chess pieces. They're sent there to really make the Japanese government let their guard down, think that everything is all cool with Britannia, and then soon thereafter, Britannia attacks and invades Japan. They take Japan over, like I said earlier, and it was at that moment that Lelouch vowed to take down the Britannian Empire and his father, because at this point he had had enough of all of it. They were using him and his sister as political pieces. He thinks that his father had a hand in his mother's murder. He's just done with it all. Now fast forward 7 years, Lelouch is a student at Ashford Academy. He's actually quite popular there, but he's a little bit aloof. He doesn't talk to a whole lot of people. He breaks the rules sometimes, going out gambling to other places and whatnot, but he's living a relatively normal life. Now in the first episode, he gets caught up in a terrorist attack that's going on, and during this whole situation, he meets a girl called C2. Now C2 is not your everyday average girl. She's part of a special race that can bestow powers onto people, and she saves Lelouch's life because he's cornered by the Britannian government. They're trying to kill C2 and Lelouch because he saw too much. But she saves him by giving him the power of Geass, which is known as the power of the king. And his Geass gives him the power to force anybody to do exactly what he says just by looking them directly in the eyes. Now the caveat is he can only do this once per person. So once he uses the Geass on somebody, he can't use it again to make them do something else. So he has to be really careful about who he uses his Geass on and when. And this is the moment that he decides that he's going to use the new Geass power that he's been granted to overthrow the Britannian government and demolish it and get revenge on his father. So if the plot alone doesn't excite you, I don't know what to tell you. It's got the makings for a great anime. But plot alone does not a great anime make. So we're going to talk about some other things that really take this anime over the top. So let's get into the visual and audio style of the show. Code Geass came out in the mid to late 2000s, so you're probably thinking that the animation style is a little bit outdated, but it's not. It's really good. It holds up really good nowadays. The style uses thin character models with really long limbs and big eyes for expression, as you usually are going to see in a Japanese anime. It might take a little bit of getting used to see the proportions of the limbs and everything like that, but once you get used to it, it all flows together really well with what's going on. and the action sequences and everything that else is going on. So just takes a second to get used to the really long limbs, then you're good to go. The animation uses deep, thickly shaded lines and edges. It helps everything flow together really well. Everything comes to like pointed edges, so it gives you just a really crisp, clean look, especially when you're looking at the mobile suits or the nightmares. It makes all of the things really stand out about them, and I really think that it helps the show overall in its animation quality. Now the music and the score that they use is really good. It adds a nice flow and background to whatever's going on. None of the music sounds out of place. The score is really nicely placed into the anime. It accentuates what's going on and helps to bring the different tones and the different level of excitement that you would expect at certain scenes, but also the somber notes that are going to happen in later parts. So the music plays really well with the animation and everything else that's going on, attributing to the overall greatness of the product. The show itself has a lot of great plot elements. It's got action, it's got, robots and mechas, it's got a great amount of strategy that's in play because Lelouch has to use his intellect. It's really just got a lot of aspects that you would look for in a good anime, and it manages to blend them all together really nicely, which is part of the reason why I think it's so top tier, because it's really hard to blend so many different aspects together and do it well. And oh yeah, they're superpowers. Now you'd think that superpowers might take you out of the whole strategy element for a little bit, but it doesn't. Just the way that Death Note does, it adds to how everything plays together in the show. Now part of what makes this anime so good are the characters and the characterization that happens throughout the show for them. So let's get into it. Each of the important characters and the characters that you meet along the way is going to have some kind of characterization happen to them based on what's going on in the show. Everything that happens to them and their responses to it makes sense. And I can't stress it enough. It's really hard to get into a show where nothing makes sense and you're confused about why people are doing what they're doing and that they're just doing random stuff. But you get different snippets and characterization from all of the people that you're going to meet along your journey watching Code Geass. You have Lelouch, whose backstory is phenomenal. He swears vengeance against his father. You know why he does it. But as the anime progresses, you see things change. You see how he changes his reactions based on his environment, based on the power that he's given, the ability that he has to use that power to really create ingenious strategies to fulfill his goal. But also everything doesn't go perfectly, and you see how he's shaped and molded throughout the course of the show to get to the ending that we see for him. You have his friend Suzaku Kurugi, who is, a really straight up, down the line kind of guy. He believes in the rules. He believes that he can change the system from the inside. Because he is Japanese, he doesn't really have a lot of power in this society, but he thinks he can really just work his way up the top and affect the society as a whole. But you see how during the anime, how different things that happen to him really shape him, really change the way that he thinks about things, really force him to do things in a different way. And the Suzaki that you see in the beginning of the show is not the Suzaki that you're going to see at the end. And you even have minor characters like Shirley Finette, who is Lelouch's love interest in the show. It starts off by her having, a little bit of a crush on Lelouch, but you see how it progresses, how her feelings get stronger, how she realizes her feelings. And also just how it goes from an innocent little crush to, pretty much her being his ride or die. And all of the characters, whether big or small, are going to react to what's going on in the world really well and really realistically. Like you can see the reasons that people do the things that they do, the motivations behind them, what drove them to that point, and that's part of telling a really great narrative story. And now, just some final thoughts on Code Geass. Code Geass is a top tier anime, all the way from plot, characterization, visual and audio style, and how it just works so many elements together so well in order to give you a really great product, something that you're not going to be able to put down once you start watching it. It's not always brought up as one of the top anime in the game. I think it should be. I definitely think it's up there with the likes of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Death Note, all of those great anime that really have multi-dimensional characters with a lot of depth to them and provide you just a thrilling experience throughout. I don't know why it's not brought up as much with people in terms of the top anime, but people need to put some respect on Code Geass' name. It's out here, it's been out here, it's been right around and getting it. It needs to be brought up with the top anime in the game. And conveniently for everybody, it's on Netflix now. So you really don't have a reason not to watch it. I told you to do it, go out there and watch it. And once you've watched it, Let me know what you think. Who are some of your favorite characters? What are some of your favorite, arcs of the show? What are some of your favorite mobile suits or nightmares in the show? What kind of things bothered you? What kind of things you thought were cool? Things like that. So go ahead, chop it up with me and everybody else in the comments. But really, go out, watch Code Geass, and get back to me. I've been Pat, that Varsity Geek. I hope you have a great day. Peace.